Of all of the groups the vaccine mandate could have backfired with, the police may actually be the worst. Now, I think it's fair to say the vaccine mandates have worked out very, very well for the Democrats. Joe Biden's fake rule that isn't actually in place, that thing about if you've got 100 employees or more, you got to mandate the vax, that's not even in play, and it's already getting companies to fall in line. A lot of people who did not want to or were not able to get the vaccine were forced to do so because they could lose their job and they were put in this very distressing position. Police and many first responders, however, are pushing back. In Chicago, Democrats are starting to freak out, and boy, howdy, are they freaking out. Because over a third of the police have defied the vaccine mandate. More than 4,500 officers, roughly 35% of CPD, have said nah. And the mayor is outraged, calling it an insurrection, no less, and now threatening to go after the retirement benefits of the officers who are defying the mandate. No, let's slow down. This is crazy. When I say they're freaking out, they're freaking out. Not only are they saying, how dare you defy the mandate? They're saying anyone who wants to retire instead of undergoing our forced medical procedure will lose their benefits. This is insanity. It's not just Chicago. NYPD's also mad. FDNY, first responders, many people are outright saying no. We had that big story with Dan Bongino saying he might quit his radio program because the radio network that hosts him, Cumulus, which is Westwood One, the names of the company, subsidiaries, whatever, you get the point, has a vaccine mandate. We've got many high-profile individuals standing up and saying no. All the while, we have chaos in the streets of Portland. And I bring that up because I think y'all can understand what's going to happen when they try and go after more than a third of the police in Chicago. Chicago is Chirac, okay? Without these cops, y'all are in trouble. So, yeah, they're pretty much freaking out. Now, all of this just says to me that regardless of whether or not it's good or bad, or it appears, I should say, regardless of whether or not it appears to be good or bad, I do think at the highest level, Democrats are pleased by the chaos. They're gutting this country. I think it's on purpose. For what reason? I don't know, but I think they're doing it on purpose. It could be that they're extracting resources for themselves personally, which is a purposeful act, but not like a conspiracy to destroy the country. More just like each and every one of these elites is like, how much can I steal before the system falls apart on itself? Because what they're doing will only make things worse. Threatening to go after retirement benefits, these cops are probably just going to be like, nah, screw you. I'm willing to bet there's going to be a handful of cops who are like, wait, what are they doing? Okay, I'm out. You want to screw with us? People are going to get pissed off. And then I just see this going towards more economic collapse, I guess. I mean, maybe it's just the cops. A lot of industries, people are giving in. In Chicago, this is one of the biggest groups, I would say the most people to resist. But let's take a look at what's going on. Let's see exactly why they're doing it, because part of me thinks as soon as they renegotiate their contracts and get more money, then they'll all say, okay, fine, sure, whatever. And this just may be a bargaining chip. Now, before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member. In order to get an ad-free experience on all of our news articles, you'll be supporting our journalists, and you'll get members-only access to all of our members-only content, like segments from the Timcast IRL podcast. We just had Sean Spicer on the other day talking about what it was like to be working with Donald Trump. You won't want to miss that one. But don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, share it with your friends. Seriously, grab that URL, paste it, post it, wherever you can. Help spread the word. Let's read the news. More than a third of Chicago police officers defy city vaccine mandate. CNN reports about 4,500 Chicago officers didn't report their vaccination status by October 15th as mandated by the city, officials said Monday. That means roughly 35% of the city's 12,770 officers could be placed on no pay status in the foreseeable future. The CPD had the lowest response rate of any department in the city, but of the about 64% who did report, the majority of officers say they are vaccinated, according to data released by the city. Specifically, 6,894 indicated being vaccinated, while 1,333 reported they have not. So it's actually More than that. We're talking about 5,833 individuals who are in defiance of that mandate. Almost half. Those who said they are not vaccinated are required to opt into twice weekly testing for COVID-19 until the end of the year to remain in compliance with city policy. The city required employees to be either vaccinated or test 2 times a week by October 15th. 2 times per week. And then report their status by that same deadline. Those who did not report their status risk being put on unpaid leave. City officials said the disciplinary process will be ongoing and likely happen on a rolling basis, but that this also starts the process of trying to get a final number of employees into compliance. The vaccine reporting portal is still open. One city official said, "It's not going to be an immediate 'we're firing you.' The first step is employees will be sent home in a no-pay disciplinary status, as the city vaccine policy is a condition of employment. As of Monday afternoon, no one has been disciplined, but that process can now begin at any time." Oh, I'd love to see it. I'm from Chicago. Do you have any idea what would happen to that city if they sent home a third of the police department? Ha! You ain't going to win this one, Lori Lightfoot. You ain't going to win this one, Chicago establishment trash politicians. The cops have won. You can't do it. Now we'll see. Maybe they'll negotiate something. Quote, "It'll hopefully wake them up quickly," the city official said. You're in for a rude awakening if these cops don't comply. Mayor Lori Lightfoot told reporters Monday afternoon that a very small number of officers were not complying after going to police headquarters of their district buildings and being asked in person whether they had entered their information online. For those who still didn't go to the online portal, a CR is being taken out. They are put in a no-pay status, and then the disciplinary process will proceed from there. Lightfoot said she isn't concerned that the city will have a meaningful shortage of officers for the next few weeks. She isn't concerned? Yikes. But mentioned that it has contingency plans. "I'm not seeing, at least for this day, that there's going to be any disruption in our ability to keep our neighborhood safe." That's a lie. They already can't keep their streets safe. Most city departments had at or near a 100% response rate to vaccine reporting requirement. Well, I would just say that you've got a handful of cowards and lemmings, to put it mildly. A separate memo issued. Oh, here we go. A memo obtained by CNN states any civilian or sworn employee who disobeys a direct order to comply with the city's vaccination policy will become the subject of a disciplinary investigation that could result in a penalty up to and including separation from the Chicago Police Department. Furthermore, sworn members who retire while under disciplinary investigations may be denied retirement credentials. They are in full-on panic mode. This is incredible. Until further notice, the use of elective time by sworn CPD members is restricted. Furthermore, the use of elective time will require prior approval from the deputy chief or above within the requesting member's chain of command, the memo obtained by CNN said. Here is your moment, Chicago police officers. And if you know someone who works for the CPD, ask them this question. Will you stand or will you kneel? Will you bend the knee to these people who seek to take from you your rights, your freedoms, your responsibilities? Will you say, "Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, sir"? Or will you say no? Do you see what they're doing to these cops? They don't care, in my opinion, about the vaccine. They care about the mandate. They care about being able to walk up to you, look you in the face, spit on you, and have you cower and snivel as you fall to your knees and beg, "Please, I'll do anything you say." That's what they want. That's where they want you. That's why they're threatening that if you retire, we'll take your retirement credentials. And if you try to call in sick, we will deny you. That has nothing to do with the vaccine and everything to do with them wanting you on your knees. The question is, will you get on your knees for them? Will you cower before your kings and queens, your monarchs? Or will you stand up and say, "I thought this was America"? It's up to you. Look at all of those officers who had no problem dropping to their knees, sniveling and crying, saying, "Please, Lori Lightfoot, I'm a pathetic loser and I'll do anything you tell me to do." Look how many cops just do that. Look, if the city came out went to the union and said, we really would prefer it if everybody got the vaccine, put out a memo, and maybe we'll do some incentives, I'd be fine with that. That's great. Encourage people to go talk to a doctor, get proper medical advice. Sounds good to me. They're going after retirements. This is well above and beyond just like we want to keep people safe. No, this is how dare you defy us. And you know what? A good amount of these cops won't because they're losers. Talk about pathetic. They say the memos were issued as the police union and Lightfoot clashed over the city's requirement that city employees be vaccinated. The union, the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police, filed a lawsuit Friday in Cook County Circuit Court last week alleging Lightfoot, Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown, the city, and the police department have failed to comply with the collective bargaining agreement status quo. Negotiations over the police department's COVID-19 policy were underway when the city implemented their unilateral changes to the policy. There were still several collective bargaining issues that remained unresolved on the bargaining table. Lightfoot said the same day the city filed a lawsuit against the police union and union president John Catanzara because her office believes the union is encouraging an illegal work stoppage to strike, pure and simple, and we're not having that. The mayor said that she doesn't want young officers to destroy their careers over bad advice. Destroy your careers? I'll put it this way. What's more important to you? Your dignity, your self-respect, the respect of your peers, or your career? I mean, it's not an easy question. Career is how you're going to feed your family, pay your rent, survive. Me, man, I'm hard-headed. I'd always just take my dignity and walk. I'd be like, nah, I'm out. But the funny thing is, if all of these cops stand strong, they'll win. If all what are we talking about? 5,833 officers say no, then the city will say, we're reversing the policy. We're so sorry. And then you will see, it will be Lori Lightfoot on her knees begging the police, please, I will do anything you say. Just come back to work. Chicago's got it bad enough. They cannot handle these cops not being there. Stand strong, CPD, those who are. The mayor then said she doesn't want young officers destroying their career. Over what? Going to a website, clicking yes or no? And if no, saying you're going to sign up for testing? Really? That's worth it? You see what they want to do? Just get on your knees, you pathetic loser. Is it really that hard? You'll be on your knees for only 30 seconds pledging your allegiance, and then I'll let you rise and go about your business. Is it really that hard? You know what I love about this country? That you can flick off the president. That you can flick off these establishment politicians. That you can tell them, screw off. And the left likes to say, freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. Shut up. We know. And you know what? That's why I loved this country. Because sure, they could try and come after you. You could lose your job, but you're allowed to say it and ain't nobody going to lock you up. There are corrupt people who might. There are corrupt individuals, and boy, are they in big tech, and they are coming for us all. But the people who refuse to sit idly by are the ones holding that off. Those that are still pushing back the boulder that seeks to run us over. As many get out of the way, drop to their knees in front of it and say, I give up. As soon as these politicians realize that these officers are an immovable force, the whole thing falls apart. But if the officers give in, well, then they'll win and you'll be on your knees. Catanzara had spoken out against the mandate to report vaccine status, telling officers they are not required to comply. And the police department has its own COVID policy. He said city officials should have negotiated about vaccinations with the union. All of those things are a change in your employment policies. You have to negotiate with us what that looks like. The city has refused to do that. COVID-19 is the leading cause of death for officers across the country, according to the Officer Down Memorial page. Citywide, 25,015 out of 31,483 total employees reported their vaccine status as required by the mandate. So we're looking at around, just shy of just a little bit more than 6,000. A total response rate of roughly 80%. A total of 21,088 employees marked they were vaccinated, while 3,927 marked they were not. The Chicago Fire Department had the second lowest response rate with 72%, despite most of that percentage indicating they were vaccinated. One city official noted Those who indicate no on being vaccinated included those who have only gotten one dose or who are not fully vaccinated. These numbers as of Monday morning, but could fluctuate in the coming weeks. Take a look at this. Fox News. Chicago police brass request vaccine updates from personnel. May deny benefits to officers choosing to retire. This is the most important aspect of all of this, my friends. It shows you what they're really doing. I want you to take a look at Lori Lightfoot, Democrat Chicago mayor. Officer, I want you right now to drop to your knees and I want you to kiss her pinky ring. What's wrong? You can't do it? Yeah, you can. Right? How many just do? And I don't mean just the police. I don't care if you work at Starbucks. I don't care where you work. If you are going to abide by this decree and give in to despots, get on your knees and accept your place as a serf. Are we a country of cowards? Or are we a country of people who say we are all equal in our pursuits of life and liberty and happiness? And the government does not have the authority. In fact, the Constitution curtails the government's abilities, protects our rights as individuals. Will you defend them? Because they're coming after you, my friends. Take a look at this. Chicago mayor says police union trying to induce an insurrection with vaccine mandate opposition. Well, I'll put it mildly. The union's right. You have to negotiate with the union before you change their employment status. You can't just fire people or take them out. You can't do it. Union's correct. I want to show you some brave people. Take a look at this from the Washington Post. A trooper defying his state's vaccine mandate uses his final dispatch to tell off the governor. At the end of his final shift as a trooper with the Washington State Patrol, Robert LeMay reached for his radio. In a parting message broadcast across the agency's dispatch system, he announced that he was being asked to leave because I am dirty, referring to his defiance of the vaccine mandate. This is the last time you'll hear me in a state patrol car, LeMay, 50, recorded his remarks, and Jay Inslee can kiss my ass. With that, he dropped the radio. Staring into the camera, he said, "That's it." LeMay's Friday sign-off, which was shared tens of thousands of times on social media, came as several law enforcement officers and other first responders across the U.S. resisted coronavirus vaccination and fought mandates. Those holdouts remain reluctant to get the shots even as COVID-19 has emerged as the number one cause of line-of-duty deaths in the first half of 2021. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, appealed to officers to get immunized, saying the resistance doesn't make any sense, given that more police officers die of COVID than they do in other causes of death. It makes sense. It's none of your business, Fauci. An individual can go to the doctor and the doctor can say, here's my advice, and they can say yes or no. End of story. How many of these officers went to the doctor and the doctor said, nah, I recommend against it for your underlying conditions, or I recommend for it? Sounds like what they don't factor in with these stories is that many of those who are saying they aren't vaccinated might have been given advice from their doctor for a medical reason not to do it. Some may have religious exemptions. How about this? It's none of your business. Okay? How about that? In Washington state, most government employees, about 89% have complied with the mandate, according to data provided to the Washington Post by the governor's office. When including those who received accommodation, the compliance is about 92%. Spokesman Mike Falk said officials expect the final figures, which will include employees who got the shots in the 2 weeks that preceded Monday's deadline, to be higher than that. But there have been pockets of resistance. I love how they call it resistance. You know, these people are defying the authoritarians. They're the resistance. That's right. With state troopers joining an ultimately unsuccessful last-ditch lawsuit seeking to put the mandate on hold. For those choosing to leave their jobs rather than get the shots, Falk said, we thank them for their service and wish them well. But this state is moving forward to get people vaccinated and end the crisis. No, they are purging the non-compliant. They are purging those who would defy the edict so that the only people left to enforce the law are cowards. Each and every one of these cops, cowards. These are the people that are more likely to be given unlawful orders and carry them out. They don't care. They will just do as they're told. You see how dangerous this gets? Take a look at this. Nick Rolovich out at Washington State over COVID vaccine mandate. Washington State's Nick Rolovich has been fired after the coach, among the state's highest paid workers, declined to comply with Governor Jay Inslee's mandate for state employees by Monday to be vaccinated or receive an approved exemption and accommodation. Director of Athletics Pat Chun called it a disheartening day for the football program. It's a tough day for Washington State football, Chun said. Nobody wants to be here. I have a lot of empathy for the young men in that locker room. For months, he refused to get a vaccine. And as deadline day inched closer for the state vaccine mandate, Rolovich did not change his mind. Courage. Willing to sacrifice everything and not get on your knees. He had asked for a religious exemption. He was resolute in his stance, and he's ready to make a choice. That choice did not put him in compliance with the proclamation from the governor, and that's why we sit here today. 4 WSU assistant coaches have been fired for not complying with the mandate. Bravo, gentlemen. Bravo. Defensive tackles coach Ricky Logo, cornerbacks coach John Richardson, quarterbacks coach Craig Stutzman, and offensive line coach Mark Weber are being let go. Chun said defensive coordinator Jake Dickert is acting head coach. Chun said a contingency plan has been in the works, especially with the Cougs getting ready to face a tougher challenge, Brigham Young University. I'm going to tell everybody the same thing. Take a deep breath, said WSU President Kirk Schulz. Let's watch what this football team does. Watch what Coach Dickert can do with our young men. The mandate announced in August also covers public, charter, and private school teachers and staff. It allows for religious or medical exemptions, but does not allow for a weekly testing alternative. And those who are not fully vaccinated by October 18th were told they could lose their employment. When asked if they would wait for full FDA approval before receiving the vaccine, Rolovich repeated his plan to follow the mandate. Rolovich was beginning his second season in charge of the Cougars. He participated in Pac-12 Media Day last month remotely after announcing his decision not to get vaccinated. Here's a guy. Bravo. Good for him. And there's more. ESPN reporter Allison Williams leaving network over COVID vaccine mandate. I want to give all of these people a round of applause for defying the edicts, the mandates, and the invasion of privacy, among many other things. You want to put these things in place, face the consequences. I love it when the left says these workers are so stupid. Now they'll face the consequences. Maybe you need to realize that Washington State will face the consequences, losing 4 assistant coaches and their head coach. Maybe that will be bad for them. Maybe people of merit who won't abide by critical theory, critical race theory, gender theory, or otherwise, and won't abide by the vaccine mandates are the people who actually are doing the research, the people of merit. Good luck. I don't know how many people are of merit. I'd imagine most people who do their due diligence, research into things, are that you're more likely to find that they're going to be saying no to overarching mandates and rule by decree. But we'll see. I think about China, in Zimbabwe, when they're like, hey, we're going to seize all the farmland and give the farm to the people. And people are like, we don't know how to farm. And then they all starve. Yeah. It's funny how that works out. Let's see what happens when high-ranking individuals, it may not be the rank and file. It may just be many people, but let's see how it works out for them. Because I got a feeling when you look at how bad the entertainment industry is getting because they're making garbage woke films, what happens when many of these people say the talent isn't here, the freedom isn't here, the expression isn't here, and they leave? And what about these people? They're going to find work. Here we go. Longtime ESPN college football and basketball reporter Allison Williams said over the weekend that she will be leaving the network over its COVID-19 vaccine mandate. I have been denied my request for accommodation to not get the vaccination, Williams said in a video posted to Instagram. Effective next week, I will be separated from the company. The Walt Disney Co., which co-owns ESPN, announced in late July that it would require all salaried and non-union hourly employees to be vaccinated within 60 days. ESPN had told its 5,500 traveling employees in May that they would need to be vaccinated by August 1st. I got to be honest. Back when I worked for ABC, that would have been awesome. If they were like, you got to go do this or else you're fired, I'd be like, oh, geez, you're terminating my contract. That sucks. You know why? They'd have to pay it out in full and then I'd leave. So I'd take all that money and not have to work for them anymore. I don't know about these individuals. We'll see. The thing is, many people have contracts that don't include something like this, a vaccine mandate. And if the company wants to violate a contract by saying, we're letting you go, be like, oh, you're severing the contract. They got to pay it out. and maybe even pay penalties. I'll tell y'all, if you're negotiating contracts, make sure you include things that seem like to the company it doesn't matter. Like imagine if you went to a company and say, in the event that you mandate a medical procedure, you have to pay me $1 million. The company's going to be like, we're never going to mandate you a medical procedure. Then you don't got to worry about the $1 million, right? Where would you be today if you made that bet? They'd be like, we're letting you go. Did you see the part about the $1 million you'll owe me? All right, not everybody's going to be able to pull that off, but you could negotiate something like that. Like in the event of a mandated medical procedure, think about it now. Do this. Any company, that you go to, make that statement. If you have a term contract, include that provision in there. See what they say. Think ahead. Doctors have been repeating for months that the COVID-19 vaccines are safe for pregnant women who are breastfeeding, and women who would like to have babies. This is because Williams said she decided not to receive the vaccine at this time while her husband and her are trying for a second child. Quote, I am also so morally and ethically not aligned with this that I've had to really dig deep and analyze my values and my morals, and ultimately I have to put them first. She added, I cannot put a paycheck over principle. I will not sacrifice something that I believe and hold so strongly to maintain a career. It's interesting. Here's a person who is saying, I do not agree with this morally and I cannot cross that line. I quit. So many people will tell you they don't agree with the mandate, but will say, access to resources is more important than this issue. Let me make something clear for all of you. I have said it over and over again, and I'll say it again. Actions speak louder than words. When people come to me and say, dude, I really want to do what you do. This is more so pertaining to traveling the world and doing hard work. These people would email me all the time being like, you went to Ukraine and Brazil and Venezuela and Turkey, Egypt, and Morocco. New Zealand, interviewing Kim.com, like, wow, being in Venezuela during these clashes, so dangerous. Man, I really want to do that stuff. And I'd say, buy your plane ticket. And they would say, no. Here's my response. If you like the stuff you get to buy every day more than being in one of these historical moments to document it, then you don't really want it. Now, of course, you can say, oh, I get it. To a certain degree you do, but you clearly want other things. I'll put it this way. Before you, there lie 10 different roads. And in order, actually, let me start by saying this. An old Japanese proverb. Those who attempt to catch two rabbits will catch neither. Actually, I think that's the old Japanese proverb. I'm not entirely sure. And so the point is, you need focus and determination and drive. So if before you there are but 10 roads, and on one of those roads, it is dark and dreary, and there's lightning, but at the end of it is success. And then the road just to the right is candy canes, rainbows, everything bagels with cream cheese, venues, your friends all laughing and cheering. And at the end of it, who knows, mediocrity? And you say, I'm going to go hang out with my friends. Then I think it's fair to say you care more about that and you're not going to walk down the path of hardship towards success. If you are confronted with two roads and one of them says you are hereby ordered by decree of the mayor to receive the medical procedure, and on that path, just behind the medical procedure lies food and stuff, and to the right is big, open, empty wilderness. And you say, well, I oppose the vaccine mandates, but I'm going to choose it anyway. I'm going to be like, you clearly favor that path over anything else because there's literally other things for you to do. Many of these people are walking away. That's the most important thing people need to understand. You are choosing to walk down a path. You can step aside your principles and follow the path because the path is easier, or you can take the hard road. It's funny to me because, good times make weak men, as the saying goes, right? Good times make weak men make hard times make strong men make good times. If you would choose the easier path, you will make hard times. And people say, I have no choice. How will I feed my kids? And my response is compliance with the mandates is why your kids' food is at risk. So when you keep complying, you get more tyranny, less food, more struggle. I think of it like exercise. Everyone's got to pay their dues. When I used to be at the skate park with friends and somebody would fall, you know what I say? Actually, I shouldn't even say it like that. I still say this to everybody. When they fall skating and get hurt, I say, you got to pay your dues. You are not ever going to get on that board, get on those blades, get on that bike, and think you're going to walk away with no injuries. Now, certainly, there's a lot of things you can do while not getting seriously injured, but I've broken my hand. I was in midair doing a frontside 360 on a quarter pipe and someone dropped in, not paying attention. How stupid. You got to pay your dues. These things happen. If you want the rewards, you got to take the risk. Imagine being the kind of person who says, I will assume no risk and I will take the easiest path. My friend, then you will get hard times for yourself and for your children. And if you want that, that's fine. But it's like exercise. It's hard. For some people, they can't push themselves to get on that treadmill or to do the work. But the rewards, amazing. So I skate almost every day. I'm having a lot of fun. I've been rollerblading more so than skateboarding as of late because it's something new and something fun, and I like jumping really high. And, there's risk. I hurt my shoulder, sometimes hurt my ankles, fall, get bruises. You got to pay your dues. With that risk and that hardship comes great reward, increased agility, increased general fitness, better heart rate, better mental clarity. Everything feels better. I could take the easy road and just not do any of that. But then over time, you feel sicker, you feel tired, you feel worse. Being stronger, challenging yourself, defying the mandates, defying decree, you will end up better off. People say to me that it's easy for me to say because of how well I'm doing. And I tell people this. Karma, man. You put in the time, you get those rewards. It's not one for one. It's not perfect. There's luck involved always. But if you work hard, you find that success. The number one factor in anyone's successful story, there's a great TED Talk on this, is perseverance. The key to success. So for me, I go to work at Vice. They don't pay me as much as the other offers that was presented towards me. But I said, this is the right choice. I slept on a couch in my friend's house for several months until I finally saved up enough to get my own place. But I was saving almost all of it. I would rather sleep on a couch than spend money on having an apartment. I don't care about that. I was willing to sacrifice and take the hard route because I could see down the road where it led. And the more risks I'm willing to take, the better off I am. If I didn't take the risks and I stayed with the ABC News company and just said, you know what, look, they're paying me really well. There's no point in pushing any harder. Just do as you're told. This is a good paycheck. I could have done that. And where would I be now working for this company? Get your vax mandate or you're fired. And then I'd be like, oh, geez. And then I'd have the choice. If I was a weaker person, I'd say, I guess I better do it because I'm already here and I don't want to lose my job. No way, man. The people who are critical, you don't get it. When I was at this company, and I realized what they were going through, what they were doing with becoming this woke trash, and I was under contract, I tried to break it. And I was scared. I was like, what do I do after this? If I leave this company, if media is going in this direction, and I left Vice, people told me I was crazy for leaving Vice. They were so popular and they were skyrocketing and winning Emmys. Why would you leave, Tim? And I said, because I see a better future down that path and leaving Vice, but it's risky. Vice is the hot property. You're nuts. And I said, I'll take my chances. And I went to a company where I had to build it from scratch, and the company turned out to be worse. But I took the risk. And then I said, I can't be here anymore, and they wouldn't let me break my contract, and I had to wait it out. And I thought to myself, I'm refusing to play ball with these guys. I'm not going to do their woke garbage. I'm not going to say what they want to say, and they don't like me for it. Now my contract is going to expire, and where do I go? There's no going to these big companies after this. I'm not going to be able to go to any of these mainstream news outlets and get a job. I'll be completely on my own. And what if I fail? Oh boy, that would be worse. I mean, think about it. Having this big career, Occupy, Time Magazine featured, and then I leave these companies and they say, whatever happened to that guy? What a has-been. But you know what? Those thoughts occur to me, but I don't care because I just want to do what I want to do. And I don't want anyone standing in my way. And I believe in myself. And I believe I'll figure it out. And I remember this funny thing happened where after I left Fusion, and I had this, I've got the site up and running. My YouTube channel is bigger than ever. And these journalists from New York started tweeting about me. Whatever happened to that guy, Tim Pool? Like he was this up and coming star getting hired by ABC, getting paid this massive 6-figure salary, this massive 7-figure contract and where is he now? And then someone looks up my defunct Patreon that I don't use. And they were like, wow, now he's only getting a few $100s a month. How sad. And they tweeted it at me. And I was like, guys, like my career is bigger than ever. Walking away from this has made me even more successful. The difficult road. It was scary, but I don't care. I don't care if it's scary. If I was scared, I wouldn't have gone to Egypt during the revolution. I know I love to bring that up, don't I? I wouldn't have gone to Venezuela or Brazil or Ukraine or Baltimore during the riots or Ferguson if I was scared. Now, to be fair, courage doesn't mean you're not scared. So, of course, part of me is scared. But part of me is more willing to take those risks and face those fears. That'll always be the case. I started rollerblading recently, and it is scary. I've been skateboarding for decades. And it's just, I'm so comfortable with it. Not scary that much anymore. It's like I feel like I could try something, and I might not be able to do it, but it's just I know how to fall. And so there was something new, and I'm like, you know what? It's less popular, less mainstream, less corporate, less establishment, and it's kind of scary again. It's fun to get that feeling. I like it. I grew up with it, and there's a new challenge in front of me. There are people who are like, Tim claims to be a skateboarder, and I'm just like, I've been skateboarding my whole life. I still have a board. I'll still skate periodically, but I've just done so much on it. I don't care what people think if I say I picked up rollerblading. Like, it's fun. I'm going to do what I want, when I want, how I want. And that's why I'm in the position I'm in. You could do the same thing. It's certainly not easy. But to these officers, and this one went long, but to these officers who are saying this right now, these are my people. These are the strong individuals. These are the people that make this country great. Those that say, you don't get to walk all over me. Don't tread on me, baby. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.